version of Cloud now, or is that not something that you guys have done very much?
We haven't really done a lot with Cloud
Okay.
at all. So that's why I wanted you to do it.
I'll go into this a little bit. I used to use PDF version of Cloud, which was cool and it's fine. But now they came out with this specifically for doing remote presentations. Hang on, I'm gonna mute you, Kim, because it's picking my voice up here too.
Oh,
And so then it's
I'm sorry.
No, I'll do it.
It's going to double dip everybody and they're going to get echoey stuff and it's going to be no fun. But Cloud came out with this specifically for virtual listing appointments, which I love now because you can almost do, I kind of mentioned in the first portion that we go over pricing. We go over pricing later. We go over very briefly at the appointment, and then we go over pricing more in depth later. So it almost becomes a two-step listing appointment. I didn't really used to like, and I don't want to go back out to their house to do it, to just talk about price. I don't know about you guys, my average drive. So I live in Lapeer, so everywhere is far from me. Like everywhere's, the joke is everywhere is an hour. And so I don't want to go back out and drive 2 hours to have a 15-minute pricing conversation. So this is perfect to hop on Zoom, or you can just text the link to them and you can just be on the phone. I don't know. Do you guys normally I normally can set up a CMA for almost every offer we submit to for buyers. Do you guys do that or no?
Yeah, lately.
It's something I normally do because it's, well, that's a different conversation, but it eliminates the fear that, are we paying way over what the property's worth? I used to even do it before everything was real crazy, you know? But so I skip this stuff because I do generally, if they ask about having an appraisal, sometimes I'll tell them the difference, what a CMA is versus an appraisal. But I also let them know the absolute subjective nature of appraisal and the demonic nature of appraisers. I'm just kidding.
So what tab did you go to get to the screen?
This is the Cloud Live. So if you go to, once you hit publish on your CMA,
Yes.
it will give you two options.
Right.
Yeah, it'll give you two options of view PDF or view live. You want to view live. Yep. I should get in the habit of maybe like, sometimes I'll send them the link, or maybe I used to always print the PDF. 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. Oh, I also, one thing I forgot to mention in my marketing, they then disallowed it because of the COVID stuff, but I always put full color brochures in the house, because I knew that even for me, because I don't bring MLS sheets to when I'm showing buyers, because again, they'll clutter my car up and it's a disaster. But so I do like, sometimes if I'm like really want to remember a house, it's nice to have something in that, or some of the buyers can write notes. And I was like, know, hey, they might have shown 20 houses today. Good for them to know, what was the one with a really great kitchen? Oh yeah, it's this one. So that's just, sometimes it's the little things that, and I know, like I mentioned earlier, I always dress professionally when I go. All that stuff. Okay, so I do a very, very brief, I might have one property that I like, and I'm like, okay, hey, this is your best comp, and I might show them, but I normally will just show them one. I will kind of show them, hey, we compare, because one other prep thing that I forgot to mention. I always go, when I prep, I look on their street and maybe like the 2 streets surrounding, and I go back 2 years to see what's sold. And the reason, especially if it's a low turnover neighborhood, the reason for that is I can't tell you how many times that I've been on an appointment. They say, oh, my neighbor's house just sold over there for this. And it turns out, and I'm like, that wasn't in my CMA. And because it turns out it was 18 months ago.
Yeah.
So I always check. I take a minute just to drive around the neighborhood, see if anybody's selling for sale by owner, if there's a brokerage sign up that maybe is old, or if they're, maybe it's pending, or maybe something like that, just to kind of know. I show them the map. But what I really do is, and this is what helps me not fight. I think the best thing I can say about objection handling is, most of the time, I guess, do you guys have a lot of like specific objections, commission objections? Anybody on Zoom, are there specific objections you guys run into? Probably not. It's always the same ones, right? It's commission, and it's why should we pick you, and it's why is the price what it is. I have talked about commission, I think one time in the last 2 years. If you've shown them the immense value that you're bringing, it ceases to be a conversation. It does.
Are you still getting objection to
Commission? Because I know you have in the past.
Occasionally, because I show net proceeds, and when they see numbers, they'll go, oh, and I'll say, okay, let's look at it in terms of as a percentage and, go through the whole thing. But I've already built the value.
Yeah,
don't get it
I
from
normally
net
do,
at all.
my nets like right before we list. So like while we're going over listing paperwork as our final price discussion, and a lot of times when I actually go over the net in detail, I do it once we're already under contract. And sometimes I'll even just go over the full net. Well, I mean, they sign and I go over with them when we sign the listing contract is, hey, you pay us 6%, 3% goes to the listing broker, 3% goes to the selling broker. And it's just a point of line.
Yeah.
It's just like anything else on the contract. So the one with price is if you've shown them the data. So we talk, I always look at average pricing. And at this point, I also look at, okay, what is most recent? How long were they on the market? And then we kind of look at an average. Okay, this is our average price per square foot. I explain to them about the law of diminishing returns when it comes to pricing per square foot. A lot of times, maybe if you have a bigger house in a neighborhood with smaller houses, you cannot obviously just transmute that price per square foot. The other one that I always look at is our timing here. And when I did those 4 questions, you'll notice one of them, like I said, one of them was not price. And part of that is because pricing is timing a lot of times. Your pricing strategy is going to change whether you're fine with being on the market for a month or whether you need to sell tomorrow. But this really helps. We show them, this is all sold because this one was, but so I'll have active and withdrawn or anything else as well. But I'll show them, okay, hey, this market is, and obviously I am still I know the rural market around here, but I don't know so much like the big neighborhoods as far as exact timing. I'm still kind of learning that, so bear with me. But at least the markets that I'm coming from was almost a kind of a two-faced market. It was a market dichotomy. You have a lot of houses that are priced at least reasonably fairly. They're presented well, they're selling very quickly. And you have some sellers that either got really greedy or the people that have their agent from 1982 Kodak camera that's running around, and those properties can sit on the market. You see a couple of them here, 30, 36, 53 days. I explained to them the importance of that. Your first, realistically in our market, the first 72 hours are the absolute most important. If you're going to get the highest offer you're going to get, you're probably going to get it then. And I show them, hey, look at the properties, generally speaking, that sold quickly, sold for over asking the price. And they also tend to be the ones that are a little bit lower priced in the range. So those are the 2 things I really go in with Cloud Live. I don't really go into like commission distribution. Because the more you talk about it, the more questions that people have about it. Don't stop talking about commission as much. Sometimes you're creating barriers for yourself. I don't really go into this. I don't go into a lot of this stuff because I've kind of, I go through average pricing and average time to sell. Sometimes I will use this to determine average price per square foot. Sometimes there's more trends than there are on this particular one. So if I'm noticing particular trends, I may go into price per square foot as well. And one of the reasons I explained to them that we don't set price, a lot of the time, that's the first time I'm seeing their house. And so too many agents, I think, are going in, and I'm going to try and now make a spot judgment after seeing their house of what that is worth compared to the comps. I'd rather do a little bit more research, see, okay, well, what about that? What about this? Before I'm kind of making a spot judgment. I also ask them, in the pre-listing appointment about, do you have any idea of where you think that your house should sell? Obviously, I'm going to come in and give you my opinions. I'm professional, but some people did, and normally they'll say, oh, my estimate is, I always know there's estimate. I always explain to them that Zillow has right on their disclaimer in the fine print, this may be off by up to 11%. In a $300,000 house, 11% is a hell of a lot. And I explained to them that Zillow is just, this estimate is just an amalgamation of the nearest smattering of properties. It is not taking into account what their unique house is. And you got to butter their house a little bit. The last part of my appointment is, or not the very last part of the appointment is, I explained to them what the problem solving is. I said, I should never call you and tell you, with very, very rare circumstances. It happened a little bit when, like I don't know if you guys had this, but in June of 18, when like we had it in Macomb, at least, people got sick of all the over asking and just stopped. And buyers we had the market like flatlined for like 3 weeks, and very few houses were selling. And then buyers became very, very price sensitive. and you could be listed for 3 months. You'd be $5,000 too high and you wouldn't get it. You get 25 showings and no offers. And then was it kind of like that here, or did that not really happen? Okay.
I think to an extent, I see that a lot because January, February, we typically have lower inventory, not to the extent that we've had. And June, becomes the other part of that is people become busy with into school, graduation, weddings. So June kind of puts the brakes on it, and that's about the time that the sellers and some agents get over aggressive in pricing.
Okay. This one was like, we ended up having, the market was still really hot. You just had to be very specific. I remember having a house on the market for 60 days that the sellers just did not want to change price. And I had this happen a couple of times. They'd been on the market a month. We made a $5,000 price change. Now we got 3 offers. It was just the agents were coaching their clients. If you can't offer full price, and the agents weren't realizing that you didn't have to offer full price still, and it became a mess. Anyway, so I let them know. The reason I brought that up is because there, I think, has been one circumstance where I'm like, I thought we priced perfectly and I was baffled why it wasn't selling. So with one exception, I said, I have a weekly update with my sellers, and you'll probably hear from me more than that. Because I tell them the main complaints that I hear about real estate agents are A, they put a sign in the ground and I never heard from them again. B, they put a sign in the ground and I never saw that they did any marketing, and they put these crappy pictures up and my house they didn't do anything for me. And then I paid them 6%. It was a disaster. Which part of in my listing presentation is what went good about your last transaction? What did you like? Because chances are they're not calling the agent that sold them the last house, because that only happens about 18% of the time. So, hey, what didn't you like about, why aren't you using your last agent? It's very rarely, oh, hey, maybe I should call my last agent. It's normally there's a reason. So we'll go with them. I'll explain, hey, when we have our weekly, sometimes it's weekly text, sometimes it's email, sometimes it's a phone call. I meet them where they are. And I say, we go through the process. I say, that's when we talk about price, presentation, promotion. I said, the other complaint that we have about agents is the only thing they did for me when things went wrong was cut price. And I said, well, that's not always the right answer. And you'll be on some of the agent groups and they'll say, hey, why isn't this listing selling? And people say, oh, what's your advice? Send them a price reduction form. Well, is that always the right answer? No. Say, hey, your money, we have a fiduciary relationship with you. I have to treat your money like I do. And the first thing that I do when I'm solving problems is not throw money at it. And I think that we can do that as agents where we say, oh, $5,000 price cut isn't that much. Well, it is if it's cash out of your pocket, but the money is theoretical at that point still. So I tell them that I'm like, hey, I value your money. And I think people appreciate that. And so I tell them, okay, every buyer has to go through a process, just like for us as agents, every prospect has to go through a funnel, and you can't skip any of the steps. We have to get the house out to your buyers. So we have to do our job. We have to get the house out to buyers. They then have to like the house enough to click on it. They have to like it once they've viewed the pictures enough to go to schedule a showing. They have to then conduct that showing and then write an offer and have it accepted. So if we look and see where in the process we're having problems, we can then fix the problem. So if we have not a lot of views on the listing, well, either I didn't do my job or the listing is so wildly overpriced that people see the price and just say, I'm not even remotely interested. If we have a ton of views and not a lot of showings, we know that either something's wrong with the listing, or that we know that once they've viewed the pictures, they say, well, this isn't worth the price enough for me to go see. If we're having a ton of showings but no offers, we know one of two things is going on. Either something is wrong with the house. Sometimes I don't know if you guys have any streets that you wouldn't think that they're main streets, but once you get to them, you're like, oh man, this is not a main street. So if you have something like that, you kind of know, okay, some buyers just didn't do their homework. The agent didn't take 2 seconds to show up on Google Maps and let their client know, because agents are lazy. Not you guys, but other agents. I'm just kidding. I know, because I did that the other day and I forgot to go map it, and I showed up and I was like, no, they're not gonna like this. If we're having a lot of showings and no offers, we know, like I said, either something's wrong with the house, or the house is priced close enough to get them out, but not close enough for them to write an offer. This is a great time to explain to them that if we sell quickly and if we get a lot of offers, we did not underprice and we shouldn't be paid less. It means we did our job right. And I tell them, I say, hey, my job is to get you, I said, if I do my job right, you should be able to go and get a hotel for the weekend in this market and come home and you're done showing. And I explained to them, part of our job is we're not just door openers and light flipper people. grammatically correct. But I tell them I tell them that we are basically, I said, also your attorneys, but representing real estate instead of law. We have that same relationship, and it should be, the same professionalism. We talk about what we negotiate for them, and we also say that part of their ride is real estate. If real estate was easy, if it was fun, and if selling your house was a breeze, none of us would have a job. I said there are going to be problems. I prepped them for that. I said, and we'll talk about where those things can happen. But so part of my job also is to show you the real estate roller coaster. We walk around Cedar Point and show you the roller coaster and show you that's where the valleys are and that's where the peaks are, and help strap you in and make sure that you know what you're getting into, and also to make things as easy as possible. So we tell them about the way showings are set up, and we tell them, hey, this is, and that's kind of how I end my appointment. Is we do a second tour. We talk to them about depersonalizing. If you have somebody that is going to be a little bit offended that I always let them know, now it's my time to go around and, destroy your house. But I let them know, hey, I'm not, whether I love your decor or not, I said, it's really not the importance of it. I explained to them about, I want buyers to see their own house instead of someone else's. And I actually even let them know sometimes having great decor is a real negative, because then somebody comes in and they notice the great decor, and if I notice great decor, I'm not thinking of, oh, this is my house. So I talked to them about that. I talked to them about we all know that stuff, depersonalizing, lock up your valuables, leave lights up. We talk about that stuff. And then I also start them with the process, and we talk about how does this move work? I talk to them about one of two ways. I either go like order of least importance to most importance with your stuff, or room by room. And I say, just, hey, this is how we tackle it, one room at a time. Totes your friend. We go through all the stuff that we all talk about when prepping the move, because that's a nice way to end. That's kind of fun, and it's not you're not battling about commission. You're not talking pricing, and then we leave it with. A lot of times, I will go ahead and put a lockbox on right then, because even if, and I don't, does Real Comp have, you can't have a signed agreement until 48 hours before you go live, or no?
I'm sorry, what?
Real Source had their MLS rule was you could not have a signed listing agreement until 48 hours before the listing is live. Does Real Comp have that too?
You're supposed to go 48 hours. You're supposed to be live within 48 hours unless you have a note from the seller. And we have
Okay.
that form.
Gotcha. Because for me, 99% of the time, we're not going to be live within 48 hours. So I don't have a listing contract. I don't like leaving without a listing contract.
I agree.
So if you can, at all possible, please get a listing contract when you're there, if you know that you're going to list it quickly. I might also have, hey, talk to your photographer before you go into the appointment. That's what I'm starting to do, is say, hey, when's your next availability? And I'll just present that to him right at the appointment. Hey, my photographer will be here tomorrow. I don't go to my photography appointments. I used to, and then I realized, number one, I get suckered into moving stuff. Number two, my photographer is going to do the same job no matter whether I'm there or not. So it's just a easy way. Like I have including the listing appointment, from listing appointment to being live on the market, I have less than 5 hours in total work from listing appointment to on the market. So it should not be something that you're spending a ton of time.
When your photographers go into a home where people are living,
Mhm.
do you allow them to go in by themselves, or?
Depends on the seller.
Okay.
But that's what I'm saying. So if I don't have a signed listing contract, a lot of time I will leave a lockbox, because that lockbox is now kind of a way that we've kind of committed to each other. I got stuff here. I've put my socks in your drawer. That's, yeah, I have something here, and if they now don't want to list with me, they would have to, instead of just ghosting me, they'd have to call me up and say, hey, can you come get your lockbox, which people don't want to do. So I like that. And then like you said, I know, Peg, you leave something with them. I generally don't, but that is generally my listing presentation. Sometimes if somebody really wants to go into the data, great. And then we talk about pricing in the second appointment. So did I cover everything you thought I would? Is this kind of what you thought I would be covering? Okay. Anybody on the Zoom, my Zoom people, have any questions? Just either talk or put it in the chat, or.
Yeah, I don't think.
Oh, good. Very helpful. Thank you.
For quite a few of us, but she's so busy anymore. You might try different ones. Diana. Is it Diana? So I know she.
If one.
To go out of the area. No.
She's doing Bloomfield for
All
me,
right.
but
Is she?
yeah.
I have one, this is not part of my class. So if you're like, all right, I don't want to hear about this, feel free to bail. But I want to tell you a 2-minute thing that at least ask me about at some point. It is called HomeBot. Get a lend. I think it is like through the MLS now. It's like $25 a month. It will send to any of your past clients. I have a 60+% open rate on this. To your client, it will send them every month a digest that tells them about, they can put their interest rate in. It'll tell them about refinancing. It'll give them an update on their home value. I have had more opens, more calls about this than about anything that I have done other than that. It'll tell them how much equity they may have in their home. It'll tell what their worth of the home is. It can tell them if they could save money refinancing. It's telling them what they're paying on principal and interest. And it's, I think, a really, really cool way. I still mail out something a couple of times a year, but I think this is, I just cut you off from asking
Well,
something.
no, who do you put on that and what information do you
Everyone.
have to put? Okay, so buyers and sellers?
I put all of my, they also have you can also put buyers in. Normally it's like buyers that have already closed on their
Right,
house,
close by, yeah.
but I've also put I'm in the process of putting my sphere of influence in, and
Yeah,
because they can
good.
edit their details too. The other thing is, and we will talk about this at some point, and I'm not nearly as experienced as some people are, but I am at least doing more research on it. Yeah, there's also a buyer guide that
Is
people
HomeBot
can use.
a vendor for Coldwell Banker?
I don't think so. I think it's the
I'm
MLS.
pretty sure someone that signed up for the Coldwell Banker.
Oh, it might be.
And so you put in a name and an address? or-
All you need to do is put in a name and address, and they can then fill out their sale price. They can fill out all sorts of stuff like that. But most of the time you can find, and then you need an email address. The cool thing is you can send them, you don't have to add individual people. If you export your database and if it has addresses and maybe even like sale prices in there, you just send them the CSV, they'll input everything for you, which is really cool. The other really cool way about this is if you were doing any circle prospecting, which would be dialing around any listings that have sold, or at open houses. If you have people that are the neighbors at open houses, the nosy neighbors who don't, I'm thinking about, selling my house in 2 years, but I already have an agent. Hey, is your agent sending you this? If they're not, because they don't have an agent, because they just don't want you to bug them. Hey, do you want me to sign you up for this? It is not spam. I show them what it is. Hey, it's your house value. I said, I'm not going to market to you other than that. It's just once a month. If you want to subscribe at any time you can. And I don't think I've had anybody really turn me down. It's a great little, I'm all about, I hate salesy stuff and I hate being salesy. And so I'm all about adding value.
I mean, you still get the same information.
Kinza or
The market update.
Prospect
Yeah.
Square stuff?
Yeah, Prospect Square. I still like Prospect. It's good. Now I'll tell you who uses it religiously is Dan
Dan
Rogers. And I ran into one of my clients at Home Depot yesterday. And she said, I heard from Dan, he showed me, the value and stuff. And it's like, and he's been trying, I have a HomeBot account. I just haven't expanded on it. But in the last few months, I think
It sounds pretty simple if
Yes.
you just have to export to a
Right.
CSV.
And then you don't have to ever have to touch it. But the cool thing is, as the sellers can ask for a for a CMA at any time. But like I said, I have had more calls. I just had my my financial advisor who called me up. I've sold him a bunch of real estate, and he called me up and said, "Hey, I just got my HomeBot thing that said my value's at $750 for my house. You think that's right? That seems kind of." I'm like, "Yeah, that's." And then that's a great time to say, "Hey, why don't I actually do an individual analysis for you?" And it's a nice time to set up a meet or a pop by or anything like that. So it's just kind of a nice foot in the door sort of thing.
So they can go in here into their HomeBot and request a CMA and somehow you're alerted to it.
Yeah, it sends you an email that says,
Okay.
"Hey, they've requested a CMA." Also, this is cool if you want to get yourself ingratiated with maybe there's a lender that does rocket leads or something like that you want to get it ingratiated yourself into a lender, or if a lender wants to ingratiate themselves to you and pay for it. There's a lender side of this that is also set up. And I think you said your lender had set it up for you. And if they ask for a refinance, it'll go directly to the lender. So it's a great way if you need your lender to chip in some marketing bucks, add them as the primary lender on HomeBot. And it's a great way to, so that was just, I thought, a cool little value add. Like I said, I really struggle. We all struggle with picking up the phone, at least I do, but I really struggle if I don't have a thing of value.
Yeah.
I really like to say, hey, did you just see that your home value went up by 10%? It's a nice, easy way to get in touch with people. So any other questions from the Zoom people? I know you've heard my voice long enough and this went a little bit long. Sorry, Kim.
That's fine. As long as they're engaged.
So, all right, I'll end the Zoom if nobody's got questions. If you have questions that you think of later, shoot me a text or a call. Everybody's got my cell number. I'm always around. Yeah, all right, cool. I'm gonna end the meeting. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.